Hi, and welcome to today's SME Business Podcast. Your host, Mark, will be joining you to interview a founder of an SME business each week, highlighting lessons learned and revealing insights. Listen and learn each week on how to get and stay ahead.
Hi, dear listeners. Thank you for tuning in for the next episode of the SME Business Podcast. Today we're joined by Devonée Thaxton from ProSavvy. ProSavvy is a strategic performance agency for small businesses for social media and project management. Welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So yeah, I got a ton of questions ready for you.
Yeah.
My listeners are really raring to go. Yeah, some listeners are sending in questions as well. But yeah, I always have to make some picks there.
Yeah, of course.
Um, so yeah, let me start first. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and how you got into entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I got into entrepreneurship by accident, maybe a little bit of necessity. It was never in the cards for me to own my own business or even really be an entrepreneur. I am a operations, project management strategy person by trade and servant by heart. And so I have always loved working and helping businesses, from corporate to smaller businesses, just manage their work better. And so I had a couple situations that didn't pan out the way I wanted them to, and that kind of launched ProSavvy to a place where I was like, I'm gonna try and do this myself, and I know what I'm talking about, and I know I have really goodness to offer to other people, and so let's see what happens. So that's kind of where I got started.
Yeah, no, okay, 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 completely makes sense. I think a lot of entrepreneurs go like, hey, you know what? At one point you go like, hey, something happens, and you go and you realize like, oh, I realized my self-worth and what I bring
Right.
to the market. You go
Absolutely.
like, hey, you know what? I'll do it myself.
Hmm.
And of course, you romanticize everything in the beginning, but you also know like, hey, you know what? If there's a bump in the road, why not use the bump to
Right.
launch yourself?
Right. Yeah.
And
I love
then
that.
then do that. So, what do you do for small businesses?
Yeah. So my business really centers around strategy. So taking your big idea or what you're doing now and making tailored strategies for the future. And for some that looks like they're wanting to implement something new in their business, don't know where to start, how to do it. Really during COVID, that's been a lot of pivot stories. That's been the keyword of the year of making changes. And so, how to best make changes to save yourself time, money, and stress. And so, it really boils down into strategy. So, having a really good, solid strategy for whatever's coming in next. And at ProSavvy, we really, and me, I as ProSavvy believe in a very tailored solution for your needs and where your business is going. And I take it very personal. It's your family now, and I want you to succeed. And so it's figuring out what's the best strategy, what's the best tech to implement for your company, how we can do it, what's the cost. Really looking at all of that stuff before, if possible, before really implementing or trying something new for your business. And so preparing lots of strategy conversations as well as implementation and project management of these strategies, and that looks like that in social media aspect and some marketing things on that end, and then also for just task management and project management as well.
That covers the gamut really.
Yeah.
It's like from front to back, you're offering support to small businesses.
Hmm.
And let's be honest, in this time, with all the pivots, the new normal, and whatever current
Right.
word that's probably going in a Webster's dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all needed because in general, governments around the world are kind of like leaving small businesses behind.
Right.
So yeah, we need to count on each other really to to support each other. So that's
Right.
great to see.
Yeah.
So I was wondering as well, so why are your services so vital to the health of a small business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are really and have been forced to during COVID really analysis, see where they're spending their money, where their time is being used, and their health and stress level. And so having someone like me to come in and identify what you're doing with your company, or maybe something specific within your company, see what's working, what's not working, provide new ideas or suggestions to help you do better. And so sometimes that looks like, let's look at all the applications you're using and figure out, do you even need these? When was the last time you looked at all the subscriptions you are a part of? And is it really serving your business and serving your pocket? So, getting in and being able to have a new, fresh eyes, but eyes that are strategic to be able to see what you're doing with your business and what can be done better or even changed or easier as well. So really being able to get in and serve businesses in that way has been amazing, and has is very much needed.
Yeah, and a great point, like as an entrepreneur, especially smaller, you can sort of sometimes lose track of things that you're spending,
Hmm.
but also like activities you're not taking, go like, well, actually, if I got subscription X or Y, then for instance, like I have time left for or money left to spend on like VAs
Right.
to amplify what I do, or have time left to hire you,
Right.
or have time left to like get a Zapier subscription or something and automate task, and then it's like, hey, actually this allows me to scale much better. So yeah, it
Absolutely.
completely makes sense,
Yeah.
because sometimes we need a mirror,
Right.
and then especially as a smaller business, a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, I'm talking to myself in the mirror, but it would be nice to reflect and get somebody's professional opinion, like, okay, is this still right what
Hmm.
I'm doing,
Right.
or what I was doing, did it make sense 2 years ago, but with this
Yeah.
whole new situation, can it be done differently?
Absolutely.
So for instance, like a personal thing that I saw is that um, I, for instance, like was starting to use, I started to use more lifetime deals,
Hmm.
because you end up with like lots of subscription fees, and it's
Sure.
like it adds up,
Right.
and you go like, well, actually, like the lifetime deal might not always look as slick,
Right.
but then if it allows me to then invest in VA, hey, guess what? That's a win.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I just have to make sense of things, and that helps having somebody to reflect with, that kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, there goes my arms. How are things going since starting your business at the beginning of COVID?
Yeah. Yeah. So I started my business right at the end of February, early March, and it's been it's been really good, to be honest, because of where everyone's at and needing someone like me to really see what's going on in their business, and having to change and realizing, maybe they were a speaker, or was on stage all the time, and with COVID that became impossible. So now that becomes maybe virtual courses or doing a lot of webinars, and being able to transition and make that happen, and some of them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So I don't think, honestly, don't think my business would have been as, going as well if I started it any other time. I've been able to kind of catapult as fast as I have been. So it's been, I mean, it's been really great, being able to meet businesses right where there are, and in a space of like, okay, I have no choice but to change, or I have no choice but to, make new decisions for my company. And I think that's a little bit easier to work with as well. Um, on my end, to be able to work with entrepreneurs who are like, all right, let's do the work because I have no choice.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's one of those things where you took advantage of the opportunity, um, that's there, and then obviously filling a need in the market. So yeah, that's literally definition of entrepreneurship, like filling a need. So that's what you're
Absolutely.
doing.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, good call there. And of course, going forward, it still makes sense because when the economy bounces back, you enter a situation where then continued cost saving means that, for instance, they can bring on more salespeople, which means that they
Hmm.
can grow quicker.
Right.
Um, but I'm sure that that's something you already thought about. I don't need to tell you that.
Yeah, how to set your business up now to
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
accept
exactly.
all the growth,
Win
right?
big later. Exactly.
Right, right.
Exactly. So yeah, I was wondering as well. So why should every business hire project managers or
Yeah.
implementation specialists?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer, and I've been like this since I, started my business, that you don't have to do everything. I think there's this a little bit of a misconception or a lie that entrepreneurs have to do everything for their business. And I think we see more times than not that just causes so much stress, and things aren't working as well because now, this one person is now a marketing expert, and they're an inventory and sales management expert, and they become some type of tech expert and security, and and right, the list goes on, instead of just really seeing, what do you like doing? Why did you start this business to begin with? And how can you outsource either tasks that you are not equipped to handle, and that's perfectly okay, or tasks that you just don't want to do. And so my business really helps, and my zone of genius is really in implementation and strategy. I love it. I love organization. I love being able to really, put together a beautiful plan of, like, this is where your business is at. Here's what you want to implement. Here's how we can make it happen, and making it scalable. And not only when you reach that goal, maybe launching a new product or a new course subscription, or, adding something new to your business. Now, how can we scale past that? And knowing that, okay, now it's live, and here are our benchmarks, and here are our milestones, and how do we get there? At what point do we need to hire someone for these other tasks? So hiring someone like me, and really outsourcing a task for your business, just really, really helps you to scale faster, and in a way that's healthier than feeling like you have to do everything yourself. And there's definitely things in my business that from day one I decided I am not going to handle. I am not an ads person. I am not, gifted in a sales type mindset. And so that was something from the very beginning, just like you would to hire a lawyer for your business or an accountant for your business. Also, hiring, someone to manage your social media may be really important for you. And so really leaning into, it's okay to outsource. It's okay to find people to help you scale your business better.
Yeah, because like just for my own thing, I use outsourcing as well because you can't do everything. There's things that you're good at, the things that you're not good at. For instance, like I keep a task list, which is like a weekly task list, which is paper.
Right.
Um, and I grade tasks according to energizing, neutral, or draining, and that helps me inform whether it's a task I want to do going forward,
Right. Yeah.
or it's something that I want somebody else to do,
Right.
and not me again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where yeah, you have to be very mindful of what you do. So it makes sense to say, okay, these things I'm good at and I can do quickly, but
Right.
also could be, for instance, there's things that you're good at, but your perfectionism will go
Right.
like, oh yeah, like I want to spend too much time on it. Well,
Yeah.
then actually it makes sense, like record a video or something, send it to
Right.
VA, and like do it that way.
Right.
And then getting clear of your processes also helps because then, you know, uh, when you get to the point where you can scale up, it'll be like, hey, here's the
Hmm.
processes, and then you literally can hand it over and be like,
Right.
okay, from A to B, this is how you
This
should
is how you
execute
do
this
it.
process,
Absolutely. And
and
I
then the metrics also get easier that way as well.
absolutely, and I always kind of give this analogy that, like, if Sally on your team won the lottery today, who could do Sally's job? If someone were to come in today, or say, for, you're selling a product or something, or maybe you're selling a course or something, and all of a sudden one day you have, your orders have jumped up 200%. How can you manage that? And do you have a plan to manage that? Because you're doing all of this work, and yes, we want a slow burn, but sometimes that big increase is really what we're looking for, right? So how can you manage that without losing your head? So you're totally right. Creating, some type of process to be able to scale into what you're working so hard for is incredibly important.
Yeah, and also that, but I think what helps me, and I know it helped other people, is like by defining the process, you also see how much effort you need to spend.
Right.
not just time, but also money and like what the costing is.
Right.
So it helps you get clearer as well on margins.
Yep.
So like sometimes you might come up to a potential client. You could be like, okay, this logo, if you will, or business name, um, as someone that I really want to feature on a website, and you could be like, okay, because I'm clear on my margin, I can say,
Right.
hey, you know what, I can give you X amount of discount
Yep.
without having to go like, well, actually, I can't go beyond, I don't know, let's say 28%,
Right.
because then I'm literally working for free.
Mhm.
And then, the other clients that I have are not going to make up for that.
Right.
Well, if you don't have the visibility, that becomes a lot harder, of course.
It does.
And then
Absolutely.
also, yeah, you can use that to say, okay, you know what, this process normally, if a person works, this process can be like executed 20 times a week. So if it's used 60 times a week, then okay, we need 3 resources to do that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
And if you don't know that, then yeah, you kind of
It's
like,
hard to make decisions. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Mhm.
very, very much. So I was wondering as well, I understand you're offering a strategy promotion for the December, February time frame. Can you tell me
I
more about
am.
that?
Yeah, yeah. So, for, through December through February, I am offering just a flat $500 strategy session with me. And so that includes a 3-hour session where we look at what's going on for 2021, what you did in 2020, and where you want to scale into. And so that's 3 hours with me. That's a full report with high level milestones for what you have going on. And then that's also will then also be discounted for quarterly check-ins to see how you're doing and what's going on as well. And so it's a really, really great time to really put brain to paper on what are your goals for 2021? Where do you want to be? How much money do you want to make? Do you want to hire people? What are the tasks that you're doing that you really hate doing? And how can we find someone to do it for you so you can scale your business better and faster? And so that deal is just flat 500 with 3 hours of my time. There's a pre-questionnaire that we do, and then going through all of these different things for your business and then giving you a final report.
Sounds like a great offer. And yeah,
Yeah.
again, but let's be honest, as entrepreneurs, we all need and want to get ready for 2021.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, a lot of people suffered, or not even suffered, but it's because the whole environment made it very hard to
Yes.
scale up, if you will.
Right.
Um, because, for instance, banks could have been like, okay, you have a solid business model, but economically speaking, right now, it's very hard for me to extend your line of credit.
Mhm.
Um, well, getting into the new year because the vaccines are coming and such,
Right.
it will become easier, quote unquote, for banks to say, hey, you know what, we're going to say yes to that credit.
Right.
But then if you have a solid business plan and you can demonstrate that you have processes to back it up, you're clear on your
Absolutely.
margins and
Yep.
such, then it becomes easier for the bank to say, hey, yes, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then before you know it, you get to the end of 2021, and then did 10x what you did in 2020.
Yeah, that's the
And
goal.
then you buy a Lambo and
Right.
I don't know, let's say retire to I don't know, Martha's Vineyard, or I don't know, Hawaii, or
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
I
That
don't
sounds
know,
great.
Indian Ocean,
So
anywhere
much
sunny.
travel. We need it.
Unless of course there's going to be some listeners that'll go like, well, I'd rather be in the North Pole. Yes, I
Yeah.
know. Yes, listener, I know there's some of you there. Um, but most people will probably want to be in tropical island.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely.
And then, let's be honest, remote work and laptops, there's no need for you to be anyway. And
Mhm. You're working
as long
from
as there's
anywhere.
internet.
Right.
So yeah, a question that I generally would like to know is like, what could governments around the world do better to help small businesses grow?
Yeah, absolutely. I when I started my business, because I am a strategies person, it was easier for me, I feel like, to be able to decide. I gave myself, when I thought about doing, starting ProSavvy, I told myself, okay, you have 6 weeks. think I gave myself 2 months, but the goal was, about 6 weeks to 2 months to plan what this would look like. So essentially doing the whole strategy for myself, and really understanding what it looks like. And I just received so much mixed information for what I needed to start my business. And what it came down to was really to own a business, I just needed to register it with the state. And at least here in Colorado, it's about $50. It's an online form, and that's it. And boom, I own a business. Um, and so I think I would love more very clear education on what it looks like, and maybe even in a tiered form of, so for me, it was that simple because I'm a solo business. I do have people on my team now, but at that time it was just me, and that was it. But I think it's not very clear, if you are wanting to sell products or something, what are the other things that you're needing to make sure that you have to start your business? And it's not clear, and it's different from state to state. Understanding like if you have SKUs and taxes and sales tax rates from state to state, I would just love more clear education from the government, which is just a really impossible ask. Because we've definitely seen how, you know, taxes this year and getting stimulus checks and what a giant mess that was, and getting correct education. But I would just love it more if it was clearer on what entrepreneurs or wanting to be entrepreneurs, what they need to do step by step to start their business.
Yeah, but we completely agree. It is one of the things where, especially like Anglo-Saxon countries, they go like, oh, entrepreneurship, and we promote it and that kind of thing, and it's like, um, it doesn't get brought up in high school. I think
Oh,
it already should start in high school.
yeah,
I'm not saying that, like the stereotypical everyone should start a lemonade stand because
right.
not everybody likes lemonade, and also
Yeah,
if everybody starts a lemonade stand, let's be honest, it's a market demand versus supply, which means that
right,
the lemonade prices crash.
right,
Although that might be economic lesson in itself.
right,
But yeah, I think it's one of those things where it should be like a third path
right.
where I don't know about you, but basically where I'm from, I'm actually a Dutch person that moved to the UK, but
Mm,
um, I come from a quite rough neighborhood, if you will, and
mm,
I would love to had more in the education early on that there's more than either you become a sort of sports star
right.
or you go to university and become a doctor, that kind of thing.
Sure, sure.
And then and then having a third path, which is entrepreneurship.
Right.
Because let's be honest, especially the younger you are, you can make mistakes. You can, like start
Yeah,
a business and then find out there's no demand for it. And then you
right,
go, but the next one you go like, you know what, let me first validate if there's demand.
right,
Well, a lot of times what happens now, I see it myself, and of course I'm not the only one. You get a bit older, you go like, well, actually, you know what? Actually, there's an entrepreneur inside of me, and
mm-hmm,
if that had been stimulated earlier on by the governments and such, um,
absolutely. Who
I
knows
might
where
have
you would
already
have
been a
been?
stage where I had
Right,
50 employees, which are all generating taxes for the government. So,
right, right.
but yeah, it's one of those things where that should be
Just more
done
education.
differently.
Yeah,
And also, I think I'm not the only one saying that as well. Like go out to schools and like, like charter schools where again kids will be like, okay, they don't only go like, if you work hard, you can go to the Harvards of the world.
right.
But there's also like, if you work hard, you can have your own business,
Absolutely.
and then yeah, be I don't know, the new Mark Cuban, if you will. I
Sure.
was going to say Richard Branson, but like such a British example.
Right, right.
So I have to come up with something else. Because like what a reason why, but it's so important to me as well is that, and you probably know a statistic as well, is that a lot of the large organizations that were around and were listed on the stock exchange, a lot of those organizations are no longer here with us.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically speaking, the economy, not just about us, but the economy needs new large organizations to
Right.
be born and to grow up, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the only way to do that is really, they need to stimulate more because it's not no longer about a having a lifelong career, where, maybe our parents were like, you get a job and, you have a job for
Yeah.
life and
Right.
final salary, pension, and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
What is retirement? I don't even know
Yeah,
what that
that,
does that exist
yeah,
anymore? Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Like like it was already different.
Right.
But yeah, so that's really what you change. And like,
Hmm.
especially, if you go out to, you know, um, the areas where the office wealth is not there,
Right.
especially there, the education should take place because, you know, I'm willing to bet there's kids sitting in classes around the world um, that have brilliant ideas,
Hmm.
but they don't even have a concept of what
Right.
entrepreneurship is.
Yep.
The only thing they see, and to come back to Mark Cuban, they see a Mark Cuban maybe, but they don't see what path can take them to the stage where they can buy a basketball team, if you get my point.
Absolutely. And also,
So it's a bridge too far.
yeah. And sometimes the goal isn't Mark Cuban. Sometimes the goal is just to um we in my family we always joke around like, oh, I'm rich to buy whatever I want at the gas station, right? Or
Yes.
like have enough money if I want to add that guacamole on that burrito, I'm gonna add it, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah.
having those goals too of just like I just want to be comfortable. And so what do I need to do to just be comfortable? I don't need to make millions, but like maybe my goal is to be 100,000-aire,
Yeah.
and that's fantastic too, and that's also obtainable. But yeah, you're totally right. It's not common knowledge. It's definitely not common.
No, no, no.
And
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 to be
it's
fair, like again, it's the simple things like you said, like just as like going to the fuel station and be able to fuel up anytime
right.
without having to think like, do I have enough money in my account? Or something. Now, thing for me personally was like, I can buy smoked salmon anytime I want,
Right.
which maybe sounds simple to people like that always have money.
Absolutely. Right.
But to me still, if I see smoked salmon in the fridge, I go like, you know what?
Yeah, I want
I
it.
can buy smoked salmon
Right.
anytime I want.
Right. Full price at Target or Old
Yeah,
Navy
exactly.
or
Like I
whatever,
don't have to wait for the discount. I don't have to
Yeah.
wait for like seasonal offers where it's like, we have so much and we need to get rid of it.
Right. Right.
Um, and
And
it, it,
sometimes
it- yeah,
that's totally the goal. And I think, again, part of this education is that we're taught, or at least for me, and maybe that's what kept me from doing this for so long, that it's either make six figures or make millions, or I'm not an entrepreneur, and that's not true. I paid my $50. I registered with the state. I own a
yes,
business. I'm going to be taxed just like I own a business.
yes,
That's a whole other tax for owning a business. But um, that's it. And now I am, Devonay, and I'm an entrepreneur. And it's that simple. And it's okay that it's that simple. And
yeah,
so
exactly.
happy. Yeah.
Like the government really should move as much barriers as it can
Hmm.
to allow people to explore their idea.
Right.
And it doesn't take that much to validate. So
Yes.
one of the other guests I had, Jonathan's son, he runs a company called Nifty,
Hmm.
which basically helps people do prototyping.
Okay.
So what you do, you validate your idea before you actually start building like an MVP, which means that actually you can validate your idea much cheaper,
Yeah.
which is like in the end what we want. So yeah, that's
Right.
cool as well. That's a whole new movement,
Hmm.
which I'm glad to see because again, for instance, they could be like, hey, I know I have $50 to validate by talking to this like target group,
Right.
but I don't have 10K to just build an MVP of an app, that
Right.
kind of thing, because I
Right.
only have that 10K once, even if you have that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it's like I can come up with $50 and like talk to this target group and validate if there's something in it,
Right.
um, which is great. So yeah, of course you learn a lot of things already. So if a budding entrepreneur would ask you for one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say plan. And I know that sounds super boring, but really plan of what you want your business to look like in 6 months, in a year, and then 3 and 5 years. Where you want to be, to as big as you want to, travel to Greece, and just live in Greece for 3 months to, as small as I want to be able to get whatever I want at the gas station. And then how you're gonna get there. If you want to sell a product, whatever that looks like, or maybe you just want to be a coach for stay-at-home moms, really putting pen to paper of what does that look like? Who do you serve? What is your capital now and what does it need to look like to get to where you're at, and really spend some dedicated time and put yourself on a timeline, put for dedicated time to see what that looks like for you. I think that was probably one of the best decisions that I made, and that's my bread and butter, and so of course I would start with a strategy before really jumping into something, but I knew from the beginning where I wanted to look like. And since then, I've been able to raise my prices twice since I started. Um, and that's been fantastic because business has just been coming in because I've been very clear on what I've wanted and who I've wanted to serve.
That sounds great. And be able to raise prices during COVID
Yeah.
is I think, the primary indicator. And
Hmm.
if you have a full order book, if you will.
Right.
So yeah, if another question that I had was like, if you had a magic wand, what would you want to make happen?
For myself or for my business or
It
for the
can
world.
be anything. The only remark there is it can only be one thing.
Okay.
So as in you can wish the same thing 5 billion times,
Hmm.
or you can literally wish one thing one time. That's
Yeah,
up to you, but it can only be one thing, if that makes sense.
sure. I wish that I had endless capital that I can invest into other entrepreneurs, especially in the Black and Brown communities. Um, like I couldn't use the money myself, but I could just give, 10 grand away to all of these different people with all of these different amazing ideas, like we are talking about, to not only um, propel themselves personally, but also to put into the economy, which is definitely something we need. So if I had a magic wand, I would just, Oprah style, just give everyone ten
Yeah,
thousand
yeah,
dollars
yeah,
to like
yeah,
get their
exactly.
business, yeah, and get these amazing ideas going. Because you're totally right. There's so much knowledge and amazing thinkers out there that are going to change the world, but don't have the money or the resources to do it. So that's what I would
Yeah,
want.
yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
we have to get past the friends and family funding, which is like a common
Right.
issue where people
Mm-hmm.
go like, "Oh yeah, you just raise funds with friends and family." Well,
Right.
depends on what your friends and family are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like
Right.
they might support me and they like help me, I don't know, somebody random like wash my car or something.
Sure.
Um,
Right.
but like raising 50K from each of my friends,
Yeah.
that
That's
means
not
that you're
possible
in
for
different
me.
social circles already.
Right. Right.
Um, and then like the whole thing is like you said with the BAME community is like if you can offer a lifeline, and then you can get to the point. I like to believe that people will be like, why are you still in the gang, if you will?
Right.
Um, because there's no need.
Yep.
Yes, you didn't make it to the NFL or something, or NBA, or I don't know, call any of professional sports. I can say soccer, but I know it's not that big in the US. So that's not going to really fly, that kind of thing. But you get my point where it's
Yeah.
like, like because they're going to be literally, again, there's going to be kids around sitting around, in classrooms around the world.
Right.
And then, like this is the thing that I want to do at one point, but I'm not getting to it because again, I'm only one person. It's like, the next thing after that is like a midlife comeback kind of
Mm-hmm.
community.
Sure.
Because again, there's going to be lots of people, especially now, where they thought they might had a career,
Right.
and then this whole situation kind of like kicked up a storm, and that they're left in the dust.
Right.
So yeah, that's something else, but yeah, I'm not gonna get to it unfortunately at this point in time. If you have a cloning machine, please let me know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Then yeah, I'll happily buy one. I don't know,
Yeah,
sell a kid, maybe sell a
absolutely.
kidney or
I'll
something.
invest in that for sure. Yeah, my kid
Um,
needs something.
I was gonna say, where can my listeners find you?
So you can find me at prosavvy.com. That's SAVVYAS.com. And you can also find me on social media under the same handle as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was the last question, like off the cuff, if you will.
perfect.
So like we're getting into 2021. Um, what's one thing that you're looking forward to in the new year?
In the new year, I'm ready to take off. I'm ready to really expand my business, putting in a lot more efforts marketing wise to really just take off, so I can hire more women in my business, and especially women of color, giving them more opportunities. So I would say that's really the biggest thing I'm really excited for 2021.
Sounds like a great thing, and I think everybody will join in and be like, lots of people will be like, I can't wait for 2021 to start. So let's like get on the rocket and launch, if you will.
Right, let's do
Um,
it.
exactly. I have a daughter who wants to be an astronaut, so I do a lot of
Oh, that's awesome.
astronaut metaphors, I guess. Um, so yeah, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah,
And it was a pleasure. I
yeah,
hope
thank
you had
you.
fun as well.
I did. Yeah, no, it
Uh,
was such a great time.
and I was gonna say for all the listeners, wherever you are, whether you're in the car, on the surfboard, in the ocean, maybe in Hawaii, on the space rocket, that would be nice. If you are actually listening from the ISS, please let me know. I'll do a
Yeah.
call out. Um, if you have any kind of questions, you know where to find me, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in this episode. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to having you tune in again next episode. See you next time.